Hello, welcome to Adventures with Grandma Bonnie. Today I'm going to share with you another traditional fairy tale, the story of Cinderella. At the end of the video, I'll include a link to a list of other videos as I share stories and fairy tales you might also enjoy. Watch this video all the way to the end. You never know what might happen. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. We'd love to read your comments. Thank you. Let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a gentleman who married again after his first wife had died. His new wife seemed nice at first, but turned out to be rather mean and acted superior, always looking down on others. One might say she was snobbish. She had, by a former husband, 2 daughters that were exactly like her in all things. The gentleman had a young daughter, but she was of unparalleled goodness and sweetness of temper. Her mother was the most beautiful and kind creature in the world. No sooner after the wedding ceremonies were over, the mother-in-law began to show herself in true colors. She could not bear the good qualities of this pretty young girl because they made her own daughters appear more horrible. She assigned her the dirtiest, meanest work in the house. Her chores were endless. Every day after each meal, she cleaned the dishes and tables. She had to scrub Madame's bathroom until it sparkled. She even cleaned her 2 selfish stepsisters' bedrooms, which were decorated with bedspreads. Beautiful bedspreads, fluffy pillows, and lace curtains. They even had mirrors so large that they could see themselves from head to toe. Cinderella only had a small closet next to the kitchen with a straw bed to sleep in. The poor girl dared not to tell her father that her unfair situation existed in his house, because his wife ruled the house with a strong hand. When she had done her work, she used to go into the chimney corner and sit down among cinders and ashes, which made her commonly be called a cinder witch. But the youngest stepsister, who was not so rude and uncivil as the oldest, called her Cinderella. Cinderella, in spite of her tattered clothes, was 100 times more beautiful than her stepsisters. Cinderella had an inner beauty of goodness. The king and prince hosted a gala ball every year. All people of society and fashion were invited. Our young misses were also invited. Thanks to their stepfather, they had the wealth to dress in the finest lace and silk and have their hair styled with jewels. All decked out in their best, they cut a very grand figure among the high society. They were so excited and delighted at this invitation. They were kept busy choosing gowns and jewels. They talked all day long of how they should be dressed. This was just more work for Cinderella. It was she who had to help them choose. She had excellent taste and advised them always for the best. One of her stepsisters asked Cinderella, "Would you not be glad to go to the ball?" "Of course," she said. "You only tease me. I am not suited as you are." "You are right. It would make the people laugh to see a cinder wench at a ball." At last the big day came. As they were leaving, Cinderella followed them with her eyes as long as she could, and when she lost sight of them, she fell to the floor crying. Oh. Her fairy godmother, who saw her in tears, suddenly appeared and asked her, "What was the matter?" "I wish I could go." She was not able to speak the rest through the tears and sobbing. Her godmother said to her, "You wish you could go to the ball? Is it not so?" "Oh, yes," she cried, "but must I go there as I am, in these nasty rags? Oh, how I would love to be dressed in fine silk and lace and be as beautiful as the others." Her godmother only just touched her with her wand, and at the same instant her clothes were turned into gold and silver, all beset with jewels. She then gave her a pair of glass slippers, the prettiest in the whole world. Ooh. "Well," said her godmother, "we'll go to the garden and pick out the finest pumpkin." Cinderella could not imagine how this pumpkin could make her go to the ball. Her godmother struck it with her wand, and the pumpkin was instantly turned into a fine coach, gilded all over with gold. She then went to look into her mousetrap, where she found 6 mice. Ooh. A little tap with her wand, the mice turned into a fine set of 6 dapple gray horses. Being at a loss for a coachman, Cinderella said, "I will go and see if there is a rat in the rat trap. We will make a coachman of him." "That's a great idea," replied her godmother. "Go and look." Cinderella brought the trap to her, and in it were these 3 huge rats. The fairy made a choice of one of the 3, and having touched him with her wand, he was turned into an elegantly dressed coachman. The fairy then said to Cinderella, "Well, you see here a carriage fit to go to the ball. Are you not pleased with it?" With assistance from the coachman, she got up into her coach. Her godmother warned her not to stay after midnight, telling her that if she stayed one moment longer, the coach would be a pumpkin again, her horses mice, her coachman a rat, and her clothes would become just as they were before. She promised her godmother she would leave the ball before midnight. Away she went, feeling like a princess on her way to the ball. The prince was told that a great princess whom nobody knew was coming. When he ran out to receive her, he gave her his hand as she got out of the coach and led her into the ballroom. All the guests stopped dancing, and the violins ceased to play, as everyone was so distracted to witness the beauty of this unknown newcomer. The prince took her out to dance with him. She danced so very gracefully that she was admired by all. Cinderella heard the clock strike 11:45, and she ran away as fast as she could. Unfortunately, she didn't have time to say goodbye to the prince. Cinderella left the palace, knowing she had only a few minutes to reach her carriage before midnight. On her way out, one of her glass slippers slipped off her foot, and she didn't even have time to stop and get it. As the clock struck midnight, the coach turned into a pumpkin. The 6 horses were turned into mice, and the coachman was now a large rat. She was once again dressed in rags. Oh, poor Cinderella. As Cinderella ran from the ball, the prince followed but could not keep up with her. He saw her glass slipper laying on the stairs and picked it up most carefully. The guards at the palace gate were asked if they had not seen a princess go out. One said that they had seen nobody go out but a young girl, very poorly dressed, and who had more the air of a poor country wench than a gentlewoman. When she got home, she ran to seek out her godmother to thank her and tell her what had happened at the ball. She told her of meeting the prince and how kind and handsome he was. After returning from the ball, the sisters knocked at Cinderella's door. "You stayed such a long time," she cried, rubbing her eyes and stretching herself as if she had been awoken out of her sleep. "If you had been at the ball," said one of the sisters, "you would have not been tired or aware of the time. There appeared the finest princess, the most beautiful ever. She was so kind and showed us great generosity." It was obvious that the prince had fallen in love with Cinderella, but not even knowing her name, all he had was her glass slipper. He soon proclaimed that he would marry the woman whose foot the slipper would fit. The slipper was eventually brought to the two sisters, who did all they possibly could to place their foot into the slipper. They could not even squeeze their big toes in the small slipper. Cinderella, who saw all this and knew it was her slipper, said to them laughingly, "Let me see if it will fit me." Her sisters burst out laughing. The gentleman who was sent by the prince looked earnestly at Cinderella and said perhaps she should just try. "I have orders to let everyone make an attempt to see if it fits." Putting the slipper to her foot, he found it went on very easily and fitted her as if it had been made just for her. Her two sisters were astonished when Cinderella pulled out of her pocket the other slipper and put it on her other foot. Her godmother once again appeared, touching her with her wand. Cinderella's clothes were made richer and more magnificent than any of those she had before. And now her two stepsisters knew that she was the fine, beautiful lady they had seen at the ball. They threw themselves at her feet to beg forgiveness for all the ill treatment they had made her undergo. She forgave them with all her heart and desired them always to love her. She was brought to the young prince, dressed as she was. He thought her more charming than ever. A few days later, a magnificent wedding ceremony was held at the castle. Cinderella and the prince lived happily ever after. Cinderella's story teaches us about kindness and perseverance and staying true to ourselves even when times are difficult. How did Cinderella stay kind even when her stepsisters were mean? What does this teach us about treating others? This timeless tale helps us understand that inner beauty matters more than outward appearance. Maybe you should try to write a short story about your life, because we all have adventures, and when we look back on them, they're great. Please join me again on Adventures with Grandma Bonnie as I share wonderful stories from my past. another old fable, or a fairy tale, here is the link to a playlist of other Grandma Bonnie videos. Click on the subscribe button. Bye for now. See you soon.